Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Rishi Sunak's latest public appearance from yesterday. Did not go well. They never do they? But this time he not only humiliated himself, but also managed to conduct an interview so offensive that we may have one more reason to suppose he's got absolutely no chance appealing to the public when it matters. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So Sunak, back from his holidays, was let loose on the public again. Is this wise? These have not been going well, so I sort of imagine before he went out to greet the workers he was going to speak to, his handler probably went over a few ground rules with him. Right, Prime Minister, what are we not going to do today? Not try to pay for goods with a can of Coke. Right, good. What else? I'm not going to ask anyone if they work in finance. All right, good, let's go. So he was once again talking to a group of workers who look like they've been forced to attend. I'm a teacher. I've seen that look. You get it from students who have to go and listen to a guest speaker they've got no interest in. Don't want to. Get your arse on that chair and look interested. Here's a question to ask at the end. I've written it down on a piece of paper for you. Don't mess it up. Rishi Sunak has been Conservative Party leader for about 10 months. So was he using this public appearance to boast about all the improvements since he took over? Was he reeling off a list of achievements? No, it's just a list of excuses for why everything is not only still crap, but if anything, even crapper. At one notable point, he said he'd only been in politics for 7 years. Now, there are a couple of things which, if I was into drinking tea, would have had me spit my tea out at this. The first is, he's been an MP for 8 years. So if he reckons he's only been in politics for 7 years, what on earth did he think he was doing when he'd just been elected to Parliament, the most senior political body in the land, 8 years ago? And although you'd go, well, he just missed a maths until 18, failed on basic subtraction, didn't he? Think about what it tells you. He's either someone who doesn't have an eye for detail, or he makes no effort to make sure what he's saying's accurate, because it wasn't a difficult subtraction. This isn't like an ordinary person who you ask them how long they worked at a company. It's like they can't actually remember which year they started. So actually then it's not the subtraction that's difficult. It's remembering when they started. He became MP in a notable general election. It was a huge national event. Anyone even vaguely interested in politics, and you would hope people standing for Parliament are vaguely interested in the general election they're standing. Anyone like that knew it was 2015. There is no way of getting that wrong unless you have no eye for detail or no interest in giving people accurate information. And neither of them is good for someone who's running the country at any time, much less during a crisis for which, by the way, he's largely responsible. Because remember also, this wasn't like an impromptu discussion. He wasn't like collared by a load of voters, down the chippy or something and had to start talking to them. He went there specifically to make that speech. He planned it, which means he also planned what to say. And why make such a fuss about this? Because he's been in control of the country's finances since the beginning of 2020. His entire speech was just a litany of excuses. And one of them was reminding those there that he inherited a mess. Hey, you've got to remember, I inherited this mess, He was the Chancellor in 2020, 2021 and 2022. He doesn't get to blame everything on the lettuce wars. Also, even if he did manage to successfully persuade people that it was all Liz Truss's fault, right? That he got them to forget that the cost of living was biting while he was Chancellor, that people were already falling below the breadline. Even if he got voters to adopt a sort of amnesia about that, as, to be fair, Conservative leaders of the past have managed, it's still the fault of the Conservatives, isn't it? But the second reason why this nonsense about only having been in politics for 7 years was such an appalling thing to say is because what he was doing was coming up with another excuse for why everything he does turns to shit. Like I said, he wasn't using the speech to point out all the ways in which people's lives are getting better. I absolutely guarantee that when Labour had been in power for a year, Starmer will be making a speech doing just that. No, Sunak was just trying to explain why everything was worse, but it wasn't his fault. So this one is like, well, I can't be expected to do well. I've only been in politics for 7 years. I'm inexperienced. So if 7 years in politics, or even 8 for someone who did do maths till 18, is not enough, if that makes him too inexperienced to do the job properly, why on earth did he do it? Nobody forced him. This isn't like where someone, like an ordinary person, takes a job, they're not totally confident, But jobs are scarce and they need the money, right? That happens. You know, for the majority of people, when it comes to that interview question about why you want the job, if they're being honest, they'll say, well, because I have a bit of an aversion to starving and being cold. Sunak has wealth beyond the dreams of even Tory MP avarice. Instead of becoming an MP, he could have just joined the army of Tory donors, bunging them a few quid in return for favourable tax breaks in public contracts. He chose to become an MP. He chose to become Prime Minister, which then made his follow-up interview with Robert Peston really offensive, I thought. He went from another comical performance in front of the public to a tactless, no-charm offensive in front of a journalist. When Robert Peston pointed out that the inflation figures that Sunak was hailing had nothing to do with him because no government policies had any bearing on it, the Prime Minister said, it's because of what I'm not doing, you see. How offensive is that? I just stood back and didn't do anything. Now applaud me and vote for me in next year's election so I can carry on putting my feet up in your name. I mean, I know I talked about the latest Tory strategy to stop Sunak looking hard-working as being a bit batshit, but this takes the piss. He was literally saying, he said he had the option to make things worse, so we should be grateful he didn't do that. And as if that wasn't offensive enough, he went lower still. He said he was enduring political pain in the cause of this drive against inflation. You what, mate? Suffering political pain? Working families can't afford a basic standard of living. And he's whining about suffering political pain. What the hell is political pain anyway? It's bollocks. Political pain is when you suffer a hit to popularity, isn't it? What the hell is the physical manifestation of this political pain? Nothing. If his MPs sack him, does he struggle to pay his own bills? No. If the public bin him next year, does he struggle to pay the bills? No. This was a thoroughly disgraceful attitude for any Prime Minister to take, much less the supposedly best out of the three we've had in the last 12 months. Which is another heavy blow, isn't it? We've had three Prime Ministers in the space of a year, and being completely honest, Rishi Sunak actually is the best of them. And yet, he can adopt this churlish attitude. Oh, you're having to use food banks now? Well, I'm suffering political pain. Stop whining. Sunak will largely get away with this performance because most people aren't paying attention. It's summer, we're doing well in an international sporting event, and there's no national political campaign going on. There's a couple of by-elections, that's it. Come the general election, the public will be paying attention. This sort of behaviour will be noticed. These performances will be watched by many millions of people. If he doesn't sharpen up his act, the expected tightening up in the polls, which you sort of think will happen with Conservative parties heading into a general election campaign, may not actually appear at all. You know, we may be talking Theresa May levels of performance here. If none of his advisors tell him that both of those performances yesterday were bollocks, if he's surrounded himself with yes men, and given the lack of any obvious improvement since he became leader, I'm guessing he probably has, then the Tories are knackered. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.